Right, hi and good evening. My name's David, and tonight we are playing our third session of The Between. The Between is a PBTA game of Gothic monster hunters in Victorian London, written by Jason Cordova. We are playing this game as arranged through the Gauntlet calendar. The Gauntlet's an online role-playing group. We get together and play games like this one online. We also have a monthly gaming magazine called Codex, as well as a series of podcasts. You can find information about all the various different bits and pieces that we do on the website, which is at gauntlet-rpg.com. You can find a link to that down in the video below, as well as a link to more information about this game. So with that said, oh yeah, we will also obviously, as ever, be using our safety tools this evening. I think everyone here is fairly familiar with them by this point, but we obviously have our lines and veils in the character keeper. If you either want to both check those over and make sure that you're aware and happy with what's on there, please do so, as well as if there's anything you want to add, again, feel free to do so. This is, as ever, a sort of living list. We will also be playing with the X card, which can be used if any uncomfortable content or content you're just not happy with having in the game comes up. We can use the X card to remove that. We'll also be playing, as ever, with script change. So again, if you want to use any of those tools, again, the primary three, I'd say pause, fast forward, rewind, feel free to use those. We'll also be playing with using the open door policy. So again, as ever, if you do need to take a step away from the game, either just for a quick break, or you can continue with the session, or even the rest of the campaign, you're always welcome to do so. If you can let me know, that's great, but if not, no worries. Touch wood, shouldn't be any problems from my end tonight, but we'll get on with things. So what we'll do first is I'll just ask everyone to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about their character, including, if you wouldn't mind just going a quick refresh of what conditions everyone has, just as a reminder, and something that you got up to last time. It has been 2 weeks since the last one, so no worries if people's memories are a little hazy. I will do a quick refresh on sort of the rough state of the investigation once we're all done. So yeah, I'll start in character keeper order as ever. So that will be starting with David, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is also David, and I use he, him pronouns. I am going to be playing as Trixie, using the American playbook, she, her pronouns, and my conditions as of current. I'm kind of on the struggle bus right now. I've got 2 out of 3, I think. They are center of attention and drained, the latter being thanks to my sort of lycanthropic curse that I am struggling against right now. Where we last left Trixie, if I recall correctly, we were out at the Dog and Whistle, myself and Dr. John Fenworth, and had gotten into a bit of a scrap with a old sailor man, or a young sailor man, but in any event, some pushy, aggressive, rude sailor man. And I accidentally knocked him unconscious. I believe we dragged him out into the alleyway. And if I recall correctly, Dr. Fenworth may have taken some sampling of his body or something to that effect. I forget. There was nothing like that. Okay. It was something we were taking into consideration, but that did not happen. Okay, but that's what's going on with me at this time.
Perfect, thank you very much. And yeah, next, Sabine, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about John Fenworth.
Yeah, hi, my name is Sabine. I use any pronouns. I'm playing Dr. John Fenworth, who uses he, him pronouns. Dr. John Fenworth is a quite rarefied individual There's well-studied upper class. But last time, he, as David has said, he hung out with Trixie in the Dog and Whistle. As you can imagine, it is not a very respectable pub. He did not engage in fisticuffs, but he might have nudged Trixie to do so. And while he did take some hair from one of the murder victims he was analyzing, because that was very beautiful, he did not take anything from this ruffian who might have had a lot of some unfortunate kind of diseases, and also was not at all fit to be part of his child. John Fenworth uses the playbook as the mother of the mother, and he is constructing a child that will bring back something that he loved very much to him eventually, if everything goes right.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And finally for tonight, Anders, if you'd like to introduce yourself and again tell us about who you'll be playing this evening.
Yeah, I'm Anders, he, him. I'm playing Ardent Casebury, the vessel, also he, him. He is a perfectly ordinary gentleman who just happens to congregate with dark forces. He only has one condition currently, which is morbid. I think the last thing he was doing was, I don't remember if we resolved it fully, but he was following a vision he had to try to track a flock of bats to a possible hideout for a possible vampire.
Yes, indeed. I believe they'd led you to a sewer grate, leading out into the river, where you found a little boat, I think, if memory serves. Yeah. So indeed. Thank you, everyone. Just as a recap of where we were last time, we completed our first night phase. So we will be leading in today, starting off with the dawn phase. The dawn phase is a bit of a wrap-up phase, really. In general, I would always try and do this one in the same session as our night phase, because it kind of follows up on some of the stuff that happens in there. But I'd hoped that we might have, because Chloe had to leave early last time, I'd hoped to be able to involve her in this dawn phase as well, but that's just not here. We'll carry on anyway. So that's what we will be doing. But yeah, to kind of quickly recap, currently there is a threat that you are investigating, the Limehouse Lurker. A child-sized vampire has been plaguing the Limehouse area of London, down in the east by in the sort of Docklands. This vampire, is small. It is in a child's body. The first question that you have to answer is if the vampire is actually young, if they are both a child in sort of mind and body, as it were, or if they are old, if they have been around for a lot longer despite being trapped in a child's body. Once you have answered that question, that will then lead you down to answering another question about how to actually deal with it, depending on whether you are dealing with a young or an old vampire. You have 7 clues already, so you've if you can loop in some of those towards answering that first question, you have a fairly good shot at doing so. So that is something you may want to consider doing at some point. As I say, this is something that we kind of don't need to do as part of a strict as part of a phase. It's as much a kind of an out of character discussion as is an in character one, though you may also wish to frame it as an in character discussion as well if you like. So yeah, just whenever you are interested in doing that, let me know, and let's all know we'll start working towards that. So yeah, the clues that we've got so far: a childlike voice in the shadows, castigating the opium den patrons, blood dripping from the ceiling of the basement of the opium den, a flock of bats circling a particular location, a painted mural depicting the sons of another world. You know that the vampire has a connection to all blood that is spilt in Limehouse. There was a discarded wooden Viking boat, like a toy-sized wooden Viking boat that was found down by the sewers. And you found that when you took a sample of blood, I think that may have actually been from the sailor, if memory serves. It flowed like in a spiral in the air, much like the bats did. So those are the clues you currently have to hand from the Limehouse Lurker. That is currently the only threat that you're investigating, though that will change very shortly. So with that said, we will turn. So see, we've got the thing up for the dawn phase now. So as I said, this is kind of just a bit of an upkeep phase, essentially. So the first thing that happens is if the threat had been resolved, at this point you would all get some rewards based on the resolution of that threat, though we have not yet resolved our first threat, so that we won't be doing that step. The next thing is to answer our dawn question, or dawn questions, I should say. So this is the first time doing this, so I'll go through this and ask these in order for each of you. So the first question, and this one obviously will be the same for everyone, is did the hunters answer a question? Not yet. I have a feeling maybe we will get one soon, but we didn't get one answered in this previous cycle of play. The second one is did the hunters resolve a threat? Again, not yet, but we can start working towards that. So I will now go to Trixie to start with. So Trixie, this first question is going to be a little tough because it's going back a couple of weeks now. But did you experience an echo in the night? And just as a reminder, this is kind of when you manage to introduce a detail from the unseen into kind of the play of the scene in general.
The most I can think of, and having not really played the game before, I don't know if this counts, but at the beginning of the dog and whistle scene, I had a handkerchief up over my mouth, and it was really to disguise the teeth grinding I was doing because of the trying to stave off the transformation I was about to undergo. But I chalked it up whenever anybody asked. I said it's because of that horrible smell from the prison hulk off the port. So I don't know if that counts exactly, or if that's just making a reference, but
no, that absolutely counts. That absolutely counts. No, that's perfect. So yeah, you can put a tick in that box. Did you use violence to solve a problem?
Does punching out the sailor count as
absolutely, absolutely, yep. That was kind of your sort of objective there. So yeah, absolutely. Did you encourage a fellow hunter to let loose for a change?
I was making it a point to push drinks onto Dr. Fenworth during the dog and whistle scene.
Yeah,
with some success, but maybe not as much as I would have liked.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you were certainly doing the encouraging, whether or not Dr. Fenworth truly let loose. So yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you very much. So yeah, you'll get to mark a point of XP on your track for each of those that you've ticked, and then you can clear them down again.
And quick question about that: am I required to? It says to change the elective questions, so those have to all be something different for this.
They don't. You do not have to change. You can change if you wish. You can leave them both the same, or you can change one of them. Any combination of that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
Cool. John Fenworth. So again, obviously, first two questions aren't relevant at the moment. Did you experience an echo in the night?
I think I might have, because there was this description of the dripping blood when I was in the basement, and there was also the sort of thin gruel that was dripping down into the hold of the ship.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. Did you have a conversation with the child while no one was looking?
Yeah, I was talking to my child when I was taking the hair of that sailor.
Yep. Perfect. And did you dismiss the possibility of a supernatural explanation despite everything you've experienced?
I think I tried to do that when I had this discussion with Ardent, but I'm not sure what that was about. But I know that I tried to hit that at least.
Yeah, I think I remember you saying, was it dismissing the existence of ghosts while accepting that like vampire? So yeah, well, vampires are obviously scientific.
I think it was the whole thing with the omens and visions and stuff, and that was a bit too fluffy for me.
Yeah.
So I dismissed.
Perfect. Awesome. So Ardent, again, we'll ignore the first two questions for the moment, but did you experience an echo in the night?
Not that I can think of.
I can't remember specifically.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
it's not something I was looking for really.
No, that's fine. It's fine. It comes with practice anyway, so that's fine. Did you have a face-to-face encounter with a dark entity?
Not face-to-face, I wouldn't say.
I would say you did. I would say you did, because you had the in the vision. You had that encounter with yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's face to face enough. You made eye contact.
Yeah, and I definitely performed the ritual.
Yeah, you absolutely did that.
So that's 2 XP, and I untick those, and I'm allowed to change the questions.
You're allowed to change them if you want, but you can keep them if you're the same if you wish. Awesome, cool. So that is we, as I said, the sort of second, third step rolling to each other, because that's answering the questions and then changing them if you wish. If anyone has any moves that are resolved during the dawn phase, we would do that now. I don't think that's the case. I don't think anyone has anything that resolves in the dawn phase. I think Trixie, I think your quickening move, I think on a certain roll, something does. Oh yeah, that's right. If you get a 12 plus on it, then I think you do get you get to discover a clue in the dawn phase, but that's not the case. Awesome. And then if anyone had any Janus Mask prompts that remained unresolved, we would resolve those now, but I don't think anyone does. Again, I don't think I've managed to get anyone to mark a Janus Mask yet, so I'll have to try harder.
I blame the dice roller. I really tried, but I had a 12 and how to put on a Janus Mask. I think you might owe me or did we get a mastermind clue there somewhere? Because I remember that I rolled a 12 or something.
What's the
to that effort?
Janus Mask? There's nothing on the character sheet for it that I can see. I don't remember what it is.
Mask of the past, the mask of the future.
Oh,
yeah, sorry,
okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, they don't have the heading, the Janus Mask heading on the character keeper itself, but yeah, that's the Mask of the Past and the Mask of the Future. Awesome. So that is all of that. So we will go into the dawn, into the morning phase, no, the day phase, I should say. Though the first thing that will happen.
Sorry, excuse me.
No, go for it.
I forgot. When I was supposed to give you a hint about the child's. Let me check this, and I didn't because I forgot that because.
Yes, that's it. It was the for the
child's
hair,
move, right? When I got the hair, check it off and narrate a brief, pleasant moment with the person you love that is triggered by handling the part in your hands. Should I do that, or do we just say, okay, don't go away? We'll reveal that later.
If you want to do that now, that is cool. Or if you kind of want to save it until like you first introduce your beloved or the like. that's also cool, whichever you'd rather.
I mean, I think I can give you a little hint of what that was like, because I think what you see is a darkened room. It's a very wide room, very big, and there's a person in the middle. It's just this person, and all you can see is a kind of a light shining, and it's shining on very luxurious, curly, dark hair, almost like that sailor's hair.
Awesome, perfect, thank you. Yeah, so with that, we will first thing. So as I sort of mentioned, I think last time, but we'll remind again, it's the first time it's happening. With the threats that you face as Hargrave House, we kind of each morning, each day phase, a new threat will be introduced. So kind of the different things you're dealing with will start to stack up. This will happen until you're up to 3 active threats, essentially. That can go above if someone introduces a like playbook specific threat, but we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. So as we only currently have 1 active threat, I will introduce a new one. And this is the St. James's Street Ghost. So a back issue of the Illustrated Police News, a tabloid notorious for carrying salacious, blood-curdling tales of dubious provenance, has a story about a young maid, Ginny Hess, who was found dead, apparently from shock, in her employer's St. James's Street townhouse some months ago now. The story claims the townhouse is haunted and that it was almost certainly the appearance of a ghost that caused the young maid to die of fright. After a cursory inquiry, you learn the precise address of the haunting, 18 St. James's Street, and the name of the family that lives there, the Beals. Ardent, I think this is a question for you. Most tales of hauntings are complete nonsense, especially those carried by the Illustrated Police News. But Hargrave House has some experience with ghosts, and a particular detail in this story confirms that this is a legitimate haunting. What is it?
Ooh, interesting. I think it mentions that there was frost on the windows of the room where she was found, and that kind of and it's out of season, and that sort of temperature drops are associated with actual hauntings.
Excellent. So yeah, you will discover this information. Or it's possibly this back issue comes across. You're sort of flicking through or whatever else at breakfast time, and this detail leaps out at you and leads you to think that there might have been something more to this haunting than at first met the eye. As I said, the actual events, the actual death of the maid happened a couple of months ago now. It's not sort of a recent thing, but it might be something that bears some investigation. So the St. James's Street Ghost has 2 questions associated with it. The first question is, which part of the house is the ghost attached to? That question has a complexity of 4. The opportunity that question gets is it gives you access to a custom move called Old Bones, which allows you to kind of get in touch with ghosts. You can look over the full. I can give you the full details of that if you wish, but that's broadly what you get if you answer that question. The second question is, how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world? This has a complexity of 6, and you can resolve this threat that allows you to resolve the threat by performing a quieting ritual. So there's just the 2 questions there. One of them, essentially the first one, is entirely optional, but does get you quite a nice reward if you answer it. The second is the one that is required to resolve the threat. There is also a mask associated with this threat called the Mask of the Unquiet. And as a reminder, with the masks associated with a particular threat can only be used once, but can be used by any of the hunters. You can just choose to mark it instead of marking one of your own masks when you use the Janus mask move. I just double check if there is one associated. Yeah, there is also one associated with the Limehouse Lurker called the Mask of the Sun. So you have both of those currently available to you. Awesome. So that is the new threat that you have discovered of. So now we can go into having some of our normal day move stuff. So as a reminder, in a day move, essentially you get to say what sort of scenes you're interested in doing. We'll frame out and play out some of those scenes. At some point I'll say, okay, that's probably enough for the day now. But that is kind of where we go for the day move. So I'm just going to quickly poll the table for what you are interested in getting up to during the day, what things you would like to try and address. As a reminder as well, obviously you cannot resolve a threat during the day phase. That has to be done at night, but you can answer questions at any point if you wish to do that. But yeah, I'll start with, I'll just go around in character keeper order again. So Trixie, are there any things that you would like to get up to during the day today?
I would like to start resolving some questions about this Limehouse Lurker. And mechanically, how is that accomplished exactly? I think you do like a enter a question move, I believe.
That's correct. So yeah, you use the answer a question move. Essentially, what you do is you try and link together as many of the clues that you've discovered so far from this threat as you wish. You subtract. You basically add together the number of clues that you think relate to answering this particular question, or that you can explain as a part of answering this particular question. So, for instance, you might say, "Well, I think that this particular thing is a red herring." But it's the fact that it isn't linked to this is kind of the point, or whatever else. The questions each have a complexity, so you then subtract the complexity from the number of clues that you've kind of put forward to answering the question. That will give you obviously a number, and then you roll 2d6 plus that number, and then it sort of resolves like a normal move. The only thing that is slightly different, I mean, obviously other than the clue thing, the only thing that's slightly different about the answer question move is that if you want to increase the result of that, normally you can do that by spending a mask, spending a Janus mask to increase the result of a dice by 1 step. To increase the answer question result by a step, everyone has to mark a mask, not just one person.
Okay.
And also, sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and also the answering a question, you basically can't use any other mechanical effects to input. You can't, spend something to get advantage on the roll or anything like that. It's essentially kind of more of a, like I said, almost like an out of character move as much as anything else.
Right. So I mean,
can I just give you because something I learned from Benwood Bay that uses a similar mechanic. It's better to start out with the answer you want to have and try to fit the clues into that answer instead of going the other way around and trying to find an answer to fit the clues. The clues are vague enough usually that you can fit them to both. In that case, it's probably better if we as players decide, do we want the vampire to be young or old, and then see how we can make the answers fit that pact.
Right. So I think I would like to, at some point today, have a freewheeling discussion with the rest of the team to see if we can knock out one of these questions. But that probably would only require one scene or so. Otherwise, I'll probably be doing some further investigation work on either the ghost or the lurker, depending on what everyone else decides to do.
That's cool. If it might make sense, and if people are cool with that, if we start off just by answering that question, and then see sort of where that leaves us and where you want to go from there, that's probably a good start. So yeah, the first question, and like I said, at this stage you have no choice, as it were, because you have to answer the first question first in this one. Is the vampire young or old? Yeah, what do people think? And so actually I'll start with you again, Trixie. So what's your feeling at the moment? Do you think that it's more likely that the vampire is actually young or old?
The sense that I'm getting is young, and I'm kind of basing that off of the toy boat and the kind of moral castigation of opium den patrons. That seems like something a child would do, is to sort of say, oh, don't you know that's bad for you, and kind of imply that these people are sort of deviants and bad people for using opium. Whereas I feel like a more experienced vampire who's been around for a few hundred years would be so jaded and grizzled that sort of thing would be far from something they would care about. The problem is that only is 2 clues at this point, and I don't know that you can really pull a good attempt at an answer out of 2 clues. So I'm trying to find other ways.
I mean, there could be, we should first discuss what answer we want, because personally, I'd be more comfortable if that was an older vampire. We can fit that totally to the older vampire, because even if it's an older vampire, it was bitten when it was a child, so it might retain some childlike characteristics. And castigating people in an opium den, I mean, yeah, sure, you can do that, even especially if you're older and have a different set of morals and feel that you are obliged to tell these young whippersnappers that they are wasting their lives. And also, I mean, having a toy boat, that might just be a memento from the time when they were created.
Right.
And that was a contemporary thing. Also, we know that, well, that vampire is a sloppy eater, right? Because the kind of blood dripping from the ceiling, that means that blood was wasted. And that might also tie in with the whole thing that the vampire has a connection to all the blood spilled, and that maybe they're doing it quite kind of on purpose, even because of that connection. And that I feel that tracks better if that vampire is a bit older.
That sounds real, and that is a slightly safer, I think, call. I see that we have an ask first on harm to children, and I suppose this would qualify as a child in a manner of speaking if it were younger. So to the degree that we can kind of justify it being an older one, I think that probably is a good way to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, I also feel like the vampire that they have a connection to all the blood that is spilled. That, to me, that also feels like there's history there, that is something that builds up over time rather than something that happens suddenly. So that would also speak to the vampire being older for me.
So I'm just going to mark on here. So we have the discarded toy boat, the blood spilled in Limehouse, the blood in the basement, and the castigation in the opium den. So that's up to 4 clues at the minute. The question has a complexity of 4, so that essentially puts you at a flat 2d6 roll. But you can obviously use more questions. You can add in more clues if you wish to. Obviously, any once you do successfully answer the question, any clues that you have used to answer that question essentially are used up and aren't available for answering subsequent questions. But if you wish to up your chances, you can certainly bring in more of those clues. So yeah, Anders, sorry, I did cut you off there. So was there anything else you wanted to bring in?
Yeah, I was thinking this, the painted mural depicting the sons of another world. I mean, that by itself, that could speak to a vampire that has some sort of weird supernatural powers that allows them to travel to other worlds or see other worlds or something like that. It could just mean that they're crazy. But we also have this man in the sun mask. And if he is related to the vampire, I think that also speaks to the vampire being older because they have managed to build up some sort of following or something. A bit of a stretch perhaps, but there is at least a thematic connection there.
And you do know as well that the mural that was on the wall was old. It was not a new thing. It was sort of, it had been painted over, in fact, and the man in the sun mask sort of revealed it. So yeah, that would certainly make sense to me.
And also I feel that the flock of bats, that might point to an older vampire, because controlling animals seems to be something that you have to learn, and it's not something that a child would just be able to do. And also, if a child was connected to a flock of bats, then maybe they would try to steal something for the child, or try to not just lurk around and kind of watch stuff, right? It speaks to more self-control than that.
That works too.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, that takes us up to a total of 6 clues brought in, which brings us up to a 2d6 plus 2. The last remaining clue is the spiral of blood. Trixie, do you want to link that in with this, or are you happy? Are you happy with the roll at 2d6 plus 2?
Oh, I feel comfortable with the +2. It always seems to come back and bite me, and we end up rolling a 4 plus 2 is 6. But I think I'm okay with rolling it as is.
Cool. Yeah, is everyone else cool with that? Yeah, awesome. So now I'll just put the link to the dice roller, as I haven't opened it yet.
So who's rolling? Trixie, are you rolling?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Okay.
By all means.
So I'm just selecting these top 2 dice at the top of the dice roller, and we're going to add 2 and just see how this goes. Oh, that's a 12.
The answer is very, very well. Yeah. So on a 12 plus on the answer a question move, you will your answer will be correct. You will know that you are pursuing an older vampire, and as well, the mastermind will reveal themselves while the hunters are pursuing the opportunity. And so this will essentially, I would say this will be because the first clue for the mastermind is them sort of making their presence known. So I will essentially count that as being like a mastermind clue, as well, as that's their first introduction to the story. So we will, I'll bring in their presence at some point, but whilst you're going about this, but yeah,
just a question. What's the mechanical meaning of opportunity in this context?
So this would normally be kind of while you're doing whatever, following up on the answer to this question. In this case, it's obviously the opportunity is just sort of unlocking the next question. So it will just sort of really be while you're going about investigating this threat. They will make their presence known at some point. But like, say if this was on the one, when it would, if this was like the opportunity where it's actually like face down against them, it would be in the process of you facing off against them that would come about, and that's sort of resolving the opportunity. But that's, as I said, in this case, the opportunity that is provided by answering that question is that you unlock the next question, which is if they're old. So this question is, If it is old, where is the vampire's nest? And this will give you the opportunity to resolve the threat by infiltrating the vampire's nest and destroying it, or convincing them to leave London.
Yeah, Trixie can shoot the vampire, I think.
It's the only threat that I can shoot right now, so I have to play to my outs or play to my strengths.
Indeed, indeed. Cool. So, yeah, you now know that the Limehouse Lurker is an old vampire, and you will have to track down its nest. So that's kind of the next stage to your plan for that one. And as I said, for the St. James's Street ghost, I will just fill out those questions quickly now. The two questions you have are, which part of the house is the ghost linked to, or attached to, technically, which will give you access to the Old Bones move. And the second question is, how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next? And that will allow you to resolve the threat by performing a quieting ritual. Awesome. So, with all of that out of the way, in which case, I'll move on to asking John Fenworth first this time. Yeah. So, John, what do you think you want to focus on during this day phase? Are there any particular scenes you want to see?
I think I might want to. Yeah, I have an idea, because I'm a doctor and I tend to various people that are not very fortunate, and a lot of them are, shall I say, singers, like not opera singers, but people who sing in taverns and pubs and stuff like that for a living. I like the artist crowd, even if these would not by any stretch qualify as artists, but still they are makers of music. So I would like to go and see some of these patients, A, to just help them out, and B, to ask them around for some things like the bats that were seen, and odd houses near the Limehouse where the corpses were found. So that's what I would do.
Awesome, that's cool. Yeah, Ardent, how about yourself? Anything you would like to get done during the day phase today? Any scenes you would like to have of any kind?
I think I'd like to try using this thinning of the veil move and have a look at my star charts to try that out. Otherwise, during the day, bit interested in visiting the house where this supposedly haunted house.
Absolutely, yeah. 18 St. James's Street. Yeah, you can absolutely head there. And obviously, if you want to do some astrological readings or the like as well, that's also cool. Though maybe that's something that would work better at night. Who knows? But yeah, that's cool. And yeah, Trixie. Yeah. Any thoughts on what you might like to focus on today, or any other scenes you'd like to have? If there's any characters you'd like to see, meet with, anything like that is cool.
Well, I think I might like to. I want to kind of follow up on the flock of bats circling the particular location. Do we recall what that location was exactly?
Yes, that was the sewer grate. Or at least that's what Ardent believes. It was around the sewers on the dock front in Limehouse.
Interesting. I might it, I might like to do a bit of investigation in or around the sewers to see if that might point into a potential haven for the vampire.
Sure thing, sure thing.
And if
That
you want to
sounds
get rid of your conditions, you might want to invest in a vulnerable move someone. And that's better done during day phase.
Oh, that's a good point. How exactly is it again that you resolve conditions? I can.
So yeah, there's a move called the vulnerable move. Essentially, you just need to spend some time with one of the other hunters. At least one of you needs to be indulging in your vice, or both of you need to be indulging in someone's vice, depending on what it is. But yeah, if you want to have a scene with another hunter like that, that's also cool. We can see who's interested or frame something up around that as well.
That would probably be the smartest move at this point. And you can also, it looks like, potentially pull clues from that move as well.
You can absolutely,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be up for that since I also have a condition.
Yeah, cool.
And I think it's better if we indulge in your vice because that's a lot less weird.
Well, if you are good at playing a hand of cards, we can definitely make that happen.
Cool. In which case, I think that's cool. We've got a few minutes before the half hour still, so maybe if we have that scene of Ardent and Trixie playing cards, and then we'll probably take our first break after that.
So let's see here. I suppose what I'll do is let's start with this. Where do you think we would be playing cards together? Would this be at Hargrave House, or is this at some bar or tavern somewhere? Or what makes the most sense for Ardent, do you think?
Probably a bar somewhere. I think this is a game where it's a bank game, right? You play against the house?
That's a good question.
I just Google it very quickly, and it.
Yeah.
But
it is a banker.
It's the kind of game where you want multiple players. Probably you don't. I think 2 players seems. Now I'm just. I mean that doesn't stop us from playing it at home, but I think it makes more sense to do it somewhere else.
Right. Cool. So we're kind of in a semi-public area at a bar or something to that effect. And I think that, I mean, given that it's a vice, I think that Trixie probably has something of a gambling problem and is definitely in the red at this point in the game, but is really doubling down, trying to recoup losses, but it's only getting worse. And how's Ardent doing?
I think Ardent is a cautious gambler, so he's probably spending more time watching the other players and just betting enough to be involved and but much more of a social player than a serious gambler.
I think Trixie would find that to be not really beneath her, but I think she would definitely be giving you unsolicited gameplay advice. Like, you really should be, I mean, I don't know how far I was played, but you really should be playing the hand this way. What are you doing? This is absolutely going to cost you everything if you don't play the hand this way, even though she herself is losing at like very badly right now. She's probably second to last behind some old drunk coot who is getting absolutely scammed out of the small pittance that he has in his coin purse as it is. But I don't know. I think that at some point during the course of the game, I think if I'm trying to be going to look back at the move, I think that I need to be vulnerable at some point. It has to be kind of an intimate moment of sorts.
That's right. Yeah.
I could kind of see it. Well, were you about to say something, Ardent?
Yeah, I think maybe it's afterwards when we're leaving the establishment, and we have a discussion that could involve something about what created your interest in gambling, or that sort of thing. Or did you have another idea?
Yeah, I quite like that. I think at some point also I would like to mention the man in the sun mask to you, because out of everybody in Hargrave House, you're the one who reminds me of him the most. And in some respects, and this is maybe where the vulnerability would come into play, he rather frightens me. And he has made this offer that he will help us to catch the vampire or to in some way further our own goals, but he wants a bullet from my gun. And I think that I'll have to disclose rather vulnerably that I don't know what to do about this. And normally I'm very cocky and I'm very self-assured, but in this case, he's legitimately frightening to me and I don't know what to do about him. So I think I might disclose that and seek your advice in that respect.
Yeah. I'm not sure Ardent has any good advice other than, yes, giving up personal property to mystics and cultists is rarely a good idea. Whether you believe in the existence of supernatural powers or not, they tend to be obsessive and can cause real harm, even in mundane ways, to those who get involved with them. And I think the way Ardent is showing vulnerability here, being intimate, that sort of thing, is that he, during the continued discussion about the gambling, I think he reveals that, or says that he finds it an easy way to casually interact with people, to do it around some gambling or that sort of thing, whereas a regular conversation often feels forced or stilted, and he becomes tongue-tied. But when there is an external focus to the socializing, he feels more relaxed and he can enjoy it more.
Awesome. So yeah, both of you can clear an appropriate condition. So I think for you, obviously, you just have the morbid, and I think that this bit of levity has perhaps helped that Ardent. And I guess for Trixie, do you feel that this is clearing your center of attention or drained? Again, I think either could probably make sense here.
I'm leaning toward drained just because I feel I ought to be able to still get it back once we hit the Dusk Phase.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's cool. Perfect. And yeah, Trixie, because you indulged in your vice in that scene, you can either gain a clue. You get to sort of say what that clue is and which threat it relates to at this stage, because we have more than one. Or you can invite Ardent to ask you a question about your past.
That's interesting. It didn't occur to me that I actually have to come up with what the clue would be. So now I'm stuck.
If you want, we're about to take a break now anyway, so I can ask you again when we're back from the break if you want to take a few minutes to think.
Yeah, let's circle back around after the break.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. So yeah, we'll take about a 5-minute break now. So see you all back in 5 minutes' time. Awesome. So with that, I think we will return to Dr. Fenworth. So yeah, Dr. Fenworth, you said you were going to be investigating some of the pubs and the like around, or at least some of the singers in the pubs around the Limehouse area. Awesome.
Yeah, I do. It's half. It's half an excuse, really, because I really want to hear some music. After that night I've had, my head is pounding a little still, because I'm not used to quite that strong liquor that I had as I had last night, and so I think I want someone to sing me a soothing song, because some of these people have very beautiful voices.
Yeah, excellent. And
also ask questions, sure, but the truth is, I feel like I need a bit of recharging myself.
Excellent. Yeah, and I think where you'll probably find yourself is at a cafe is probably like
it could be a poorhouse. It could be a poorhouse. It's in the middle. It's late morning, I think. So I think these people are not yet singing, and I have contacts in a poorhouse, but that doesn't mean that somebody couldn't sing to me.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so that's cool. So yeah, I think you'll find this kind of one of the sort of poorhouses around, sort of maybe the almshouses outside by one of the churches, that sort of it operates as something of a between like a lodging house and something a bit more institutional, not quite as locked down as the actual workhouses themselves, more for the kind of itinerant workers rather than people who are entirely destitute. And there will be a few people sat around eating a fairly basic breakfast of porridge and strong tea.
Well, I think I will seek out one of these people that I usually help. I think she has some sort of arthritis, and I help her a bit with warmth and salves and stuff like that. But she has a very beautiful voice, even though she isn't all that young anymore. Her name, in case you're wondering, is Marjorie.
Thank you. Yeah, and she says, "Oh, Dr. Fenworth, I wasn't expecting to see you here this morning."
Well, I think it's time for my rounds, is it not? How are you feeling, Marjorie?
Well, I've been worse, but I could be better.
Oh, that isn't that true of the human condition. But let me see if I can help mitigate those aches and itches. Will you sing for me, though? I put this on.
Of course, Doctor. I'm always good for a tune.
Nice. And after I've heard that and I've treated her, I will then start asking about if she has seen any kind of. I know that she's out late right? When she comes from her performances. And I wonder, have you seen anything strange or weird about the bats right around here? I know this is an odd question, but I'm studying the migrational, I don't know the word, but John does, the migratory patterns of the bats in these parts. And I should roll, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is probably with presence, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I was afraid you'd say that, but it seems appropriate. Let me check my thing here. Well, I don't think I will not use the especially potent bottle of laudanum and alchemical books in German. Probably not that, or maybe I could, no, I won't use that. I mean, I can only use it once. So I'm just rolling these two and we'll see where it goes. Ooh, it's a 6. Cool. So I get to put on a Janus mask then.
Yeah. So I think I'll sort of say what happens first. Is that I think that you will be asking these questions when a young policeman will come onto the scene, sort of local Bobby, and he will catch eyes, set eyes on Marjorie, and say, "Yeah, you were. I've heard you were picking pockets down at the market the other night. You're coming with me," and he'll start to sort of manhandle her away. But if you would like to
I will put on the Janus mask, and I will say to him when he comes in and does that, I will say to him that is absolute poppycocks, because Marjorie has the arthritis in her fingers and she couldn't pick a pocket if her life depended on it.
Awesome. Yeah. And so and I think that's essentially what the complication on the 7 to 9 is going to be, is that this young police officer is going to sort of turn up on the scene and is going to start kind of it's probably even more so that as this police officer is turning up, most of the other people who were kind of hanging around listening to Marjorie sing, who you may have also been able to get some information out of, all kind of scarper in various different directions at the encroaching sight of the law. But Marjorie will let you know that she was it's that sort of thing where she sort of starts to like think back and when you're asking her about the bats, but that she has seen there's a place where a lot of bats have been roosting recently, actually. One of the alleyways, she'll kind of describe roughly where it is. There's obviously been some sort of maybe someone's put up a new lean-to or something like that up in the walls of it, but there's this part of the alleyway that's got some wood and planks and stuff built up around it, and it's created this area that's even during the daytime is completely in shadow, and a lot of bats have been sort of obviously roosting in there because it's dark.
Very good. That is very helpful.
Yeah, and but yeah, so you're you can, with the Janus masks, this is the first time we've brought this
Yes.
in. I know obviously you're probably familiar with this, but yeah, when you use the Janus mask, obviously it upgrades the result by a tier. And you have to tick off either a mask of the past or a mask of the future. If you tick off a mask of the past, you kind of have to do those in order. If you tick off a mask of the future, you can choose whichever one you want. But yeah, you don't have to narrate it right now if you don't want to. We'll sort of pick that up later on if need be. But if you want to sort of narrate your little flashback scene now, you can do so if you wish.
Yeah, I've lost someone very important to me, and they were an opera singer, Adam Harwood, very famous, very great, and I think, yeah, no, that's the next flashback. It's just I think we will just see a sort of it's not a poster, a bill announcing that the opera Turandot is performed and the lead singer is Adam Harwood.
Awesome, I like that.
And we can see a younger John Fenworth standing in front of that bill and kind of looks at it and tilts his head like, "Oh, I might want to go to this."
Perfect. Awesome. And I think we will cut over to Ardent. So yeah, you said you were going to head to the 18 St. James's Street. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. So I will pull up the so 18 St. James's Street is a townhouse. It's it's a sort of respectable middle class sort of area, not hugely upmarket, but it's a nice house, and it's clearly like a house that just one family lives in, sort of thing. It's relatively luxurious for London, unlike it would be today, where it would be a incredibly so. But yeah, you will arrive. It's got the kind of standard for this sort of house, probably a few steps up to the front door, a few steps down to sort of a door into the basement, red brick and the like. But yeah, what's sort of your approach here? Are you just going to ring the doorbell, or attempt a more surreptitious approach?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I figure the family would be, since this was an older issue of the magazine, they've probably already been visited by a number of people who claim to be able to exorcise spirits or that sort of thing. So I'm not sure if I should just add my name to that list, or if I should try to figure out some better approach. I could pretend to be a writer or something, but I think actually I think I'm just going to walk around outside for a bit and try to sense something, see if I can catch some sense of if there really is something going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that will probably just be the information move for now. But you can make that with sensitivity, as you're just trying to kind of get a sense of the vibes of this place.
That's a +2. I just need to reconnect to the installer. Okay, this it looks a bit confusing. Let's see, do I just click these two? Yep, apparently. So that's an 8 on the die, so that's a 10.
10, perfect. So on a 10, you will, yeah, I think you will get a feeling. For a start, you feel that kind of sight chill come over you. And then it feels just for a moment like someone's hands are around your neck, squeezing. It doesn't last long, only a few seconds, but probably enough to make you gasp, kind of thing. But yeah, that's you get that sense of yeah, like I said, of being strangled, essentially. And yeah, like I said, obviously, just go without saying, that's definitely, to your experience, that is a supernatural feeling rather than just something weird. There's absolutely something unusual happening.
Does this happen when I'm close to a particular part of the house, or just out in the street in general?
Just proximity to the house in general, particularly when you're kind of focusing on on trying to sort of leave yourself exposed to the energies, sort of thing. Yeah. And I said it's just it's more an impression than anything else, but it's definitely an I said an unpleasant sensation.
Yeah, I think after that I will take a few moments to collect my wits, and then I'll just go up and ring the doorbell and introduce myself and see if I can talk my way in.
Yeah. So you're you sort of ring the doorbell, and it's probably like it takes a long time, in the normal way of these things, for the door to be answered, it's probably almost to that point where you've maybe rung the doorbell a second time. You may be sort of thinking, oh, maybe no one's home, when the door will finally be opened up. We'll come back to you in a moment. So Trixie, I'll come back around to you. You are you still thinking of going ahead and having a look at the sewers?
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe for the clue to pull off of that vulnerable move. And I don't mean to narrow-mindedly point everything at the sewers, but I thought that it would be possible that the one guy who was losing to it, like worse than me in that Faro game, I could take a look at him and see that he was perhaps some kind of sewer worker or something like that, and he didn't seem to be quite in his right mind. He seemed to be not really intoxicated so much as just sort of like dizzy and anemic, and potentially having been victimized in some way by this vampiric force, and so there's a connection between the two, but it doesn't point to a specific area. Does that sound reasonable for a clue, perhaps?
Absolutely. That's that sounds perfect.
So yeah, I think that what I would do is, as people go about and investigate their separate directions, I myself would take off toward the sewers, which again, not that I'm a stickler for historical accuracy, may or may not be, how should I put it? I may or may not be permitted to enter them. I'm not exactly sure.
I think it's probably relatively easy to gain access to the sewers at this stage. There's probably not much effort put in to stop people from getting down there. At this point, a lot of the sewers are actually very new, only recently being put in. A lot of them are kind of where old rivers and stuff have been kind of paved over and the like, and bricked in, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, absolutely, you'll be able to. It won't be difficult for you to find an entrance into the sewers. They're not kind of like properly like bolted up or anything like that.
Right. Even if I don't have express permission, I'm sure there's plenty of places where no one cares, no one's watching. So what difference does it make? Certainly. So my goal would be to scope it out a little bit. I'll likely emerge utterly filthy and detestable in terms of my appearance and smell, but that's okay. I really just want to see if I can do a bit of exploring and see if I can get some sort of clue as to where a lair might be, whether it's within the sewers or whether it's where the sewers empty into near the Thames, or if it's not there at all. I mean, just kind of basically getting some clue gathering around the location of a haven.
Sure thing. So yeah, I think as I say, the a lot of the stretch of the sewer are actually fairly new, though still not pleasant. Their main success has been in keeping the smell and miasma of all of London's sewerage bricked off from the rest of the city, and you have yet chosen to go inside it. It's obviously dark down here, absent any light that you're bringing with you. And if you have sort of a lantern or the like with you, it probably the light will be burning quite brightly with that kind of faint greenish tinge to the flame from the sewer gases. And I think this will probably be I'm going to say a composure. The information move, but with composure to kind of stomach being down here.
Certainly. So let's see here. I'm here with a 1 composure, so 2d6 plus 1. Let's see how it goes. That is an 8.
Okay, so on an 8, you will find some information while you're down here. I think what it's going to be is that, like, after a while, you are going to be the air down here is rank. It's going to really start getting to you. I imagine even during the daytime, your nose is probably more sensitive than the average person's anyway, and it's disgusting down here. So I think you will be able to do some investigation. I will find some information, but you will have to leave the sewers after a little while, and I will give you the condition nauseated. If you wish to mark a mask, you can do so, and that will upgrade it to a 10+. But you don't have to. The clue that I will give you, though, regardless, is you will find down here amongst the muck and the and then like down here, you'll find at one point just like an old bucket, probably with a hole in the bottom of it, has been hung from a hook on the wall, and in the bucket is a bunch of gardenias that are kind of arranged in it quite nicely, which seems very out of place down here.
Interesting. Mechanically, I feel like I almost should mark a mask here because I don't want to be going into the Dusk Phase with one unmarked condition, because I very well might take drained, and that would get me to 3. And if I recall correctly, once you hit 3, you're removed from play for some duration of time.
I think actually if you take a condition when you've got 3 marked, but yeah, I mean it's still touch and go. So yeah.
Okay. So it's 4 strikes you're out, not 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take nauseated, but I do understand I'm playing a risky game here.
Sure thing.
I will take 1 gardenia with me.
Sure thing. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. And I think I'll go back to Dr. Fenworth. Dr. Fenworth, as I said, you've had your conversation with Marjorie, and as you are, planning to head on with your day, whatever you're going to get up to next, a man, probably late 20s, early 30s, incredibly well dressed, very nice suit, absolutely out of place here. He's wearing, probably is wearing a top hat with kind of quite long golden hair coming up from under in long sort of curls. He is he has a walking cane with him. The top of it is topped with gold carved into the shape of a falcon's head, and he will, as you sort of see him, he'll tip his hat to you slightly and sort of walk up casually, sort of swinging the walking cane along as he does. Says, "Well, that was quite some, quite a performance. Always so delightful when one finds something so beautiful out amongst a city like that, don't you think?"
Well, yes, I do. Actually, I appreciate it immensely.
Lovely. My name is Lucian Bellassires. More formally, more properly, you may call me Lord Fauconberg, but honestly, I have little need for propriety, especially not. He kind of waves a gloved hand around at the kind of area, especially not here. You would be Dr. Fenworth, yes.
I am Dr. Fenworth, that is right. I will also not bore you with the titles I was born with.
Indeed. We no need to stand on formality, eh?
This is the wrong place and time, I think, for it.
There are few times when really I feel I need bother myself that much with it, but well, it does make certain things easier, doesn't it?
Occasionally, yes, it is very. It is a door opener into places one might not go otherwise, but still, sometimes it can also close doors.
Indeed, indeed, and I. It is. I think as I say, it can be a burden, but honestly, one that most would be happier to carry than the alternative.
I believe so, yes. Complaining about a burden like that in a place like this seems a bit facetious, don't you think?
Quite so, quite so. Well, Dr. Fenworth, I hope the rest of your day here is fruitful.
Oh, it will be, I have no doubt.
Do take care. I know these streets are not always as safe as they could be.
Thank you for the warning. I'm not here for the first time. And I'm not the one with a golden cane. So, if you don't mind me saying that.
Indeed, indeed. A little provocative, perhaps.
Well, oh well. I think those most ruffians will steer clear of you, I think. I have a feeling.
Quite so. I find I usually have little trouble with that sort of thing.
Is that so?
But I have business I must be about, so I shall, I'm sure, see you around, Doctor.
I would be very pleased.
And with that, he will sort of again tip his hat slightly and stroll off down one of the other side streets, whistling sort of the tune that that Marjorie was singing moments ago.
I need a cane like that. Yeah, sometimes drawing ruffians to me might be advisable. I need to get home and talk about this to my creation.
But yes, so yeah, if you would, if there is something else you would like to be about, then by all means, you may do so.
Yes, as I said, I need to talk about this to my creation because I have not come very far with my creation and I need to apologize. But this man has given me an idea.
Perfect.
Because I might need to be a bit more proactive with the acquiring of parts than as I have been, even though it might be crude. And I think we will see John standing at the laboratory. I will say this word correctly every time. And talk to, well, there's not a lot there. There's mostly a wooden frame that needs to be filled with things, but he will talk to Adam and tell him that he has an idea and he will acquire things. This will progress much faster. I apologize for my tardiness.
Cool. Yeah, and Ardent, come back to you. So yeah, the door is opened by a woman. She is quite, stocky, square framed, quite big jowls. Smells strongly of onion and tobacco smoke. She says, afternoon, sir. Is there anything I can be doing for you? Locks. She sort of dusts off. She's clearly sort of wearing like a cook's apron. And she's sort of wiping flour off of her hands onto it as she's sort of speaking to you. She does have like a maid's mob cap perched on top of her hair, but it looks horridly put on. It's very much not on straight.
Yes, pardon the intrusion. My name is Mr. Casebury. I'm with Hargrave House, and I have if your employers would permit, I would like to have a closer look at the supposed haunting that is going on here.
Oh, is this all about what happened to poor Ginny?
Yes, exactly. I believe there is there may be a connection to other events, which is of course just something he's made up at the moment. But you know.
I see. Is the Beals expecting you, sir?
They are not. I have not. I have only recently been informed of the events, and I came here as soon as I could. But you can, if you would be so kind as to give them my card, and he'll hand over a card.
Of course, sir. She'll sort of take the card and then say, "You come and wait in the hall, sir. I'll go and let the missus know you're here." And she'll kind of usher you into the hallway, as she kind of scurries off up the stairs.
Yeah, I will wait.
Yeah, you can see sort of off the hallway. On the one side, there's a dining room, and then like a kind of front room type thing on the other side. As you hear her going kind of up the stairs, you also hear like a baby crying upstairs somewhere as she sort of heads up the stairs. But yeah, are you just going to wait for her to return, or do you want to have a look into either of the rooms?
I'll just take a step forward and lean forward and look inside. Not really walking into any of the other rooms, but within the at least the wider limits of politeness, just looking around.
Sure thing. So yeah, you'll see in the front room, you'll see sort of there's a small library, a few shelves up on one wall, and enough like chairs and the like around for a few people to sit in here comfortably. Probably half a dozen or so. But I'm going to ask a paint the scene question here for all of you. I'll start with I'll start from left to right as usual. So I'll go for Trixie first. Obviously, same question for all of you, but what in this room indicates that the Beals are living a little bit above their station?
And one more time, what sort of room is it?
This is like the front room, so there's like a couple of like couches and, like I said, so some bookshelves and the like, but possibly like a little bit of a almost like a study area as well.
Certainly. I think that there is a near the study area, perhaps a collection of fine liqueurs, cigars, kind of luxury items, alcohol and tobacco and things of that nature that are, to any experienced connoisseur, far more expensive than this family realistically ought to be purchasing. This is either stolen or it's been a gift, or they have just made some very unwise financial decisions.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, and Dr. Fenworth, same question to yourself. What do we see here that shows they're kind of living above their station?
I think what we see here is that there is a very new wall, not the tapestry, it's probably the wrong word, right? The stuff that let me just check right quick.
Wallpaper?
Yeah, wallpaper, that's the word, thank
Yeah.
you. And now I forgot the word in German as well. Great. So yeah, the wallpaper is new. It's brand new. It's very fancy. It is, but it hangs very prominently. You can see it very well in most areas. But if you look closer, there is a large bookcase, right, with books in it. There's no wallpaper behind this. And that shows that they only did the thing where you kind of present, but it's not really all there.
Awesome, I like it. Yeah, and finally, Ardent. Yeah, what's another thing you see that kind of shows they're living beyond their station?
Yeah, I think you can see from. I'm not sure what would be that. I think you can see from how the books are arranged that some of them have been removed, like larger volumes are no longer there, presumably because they've been sold. So it used to be a bigger collection, and now it has shrunk to finance something else.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Brilliant. And I think you have a quick peek around the door, and a lady comes down the stairs. She is of sweet disposition. She's lovely but faded. Is wearing a simple tartan dress. She is yeah, she looks a little worn, a little worn out. Her hair's again slightly just sort of in slight disarray. And she says, yes, can I help you? Irma said you were here about all that unfortunate business. Oh, sorry, you're muted. Oh, yes, you're still muted there. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. My name is Ardent Casebury. I'm with Hargrave House, and with your permission, I would like to investigate the unfortunate event.
She kind of that's how it sounds. Says, I don't suppose my husband spoke to you about this, did he?
No, he did not. I would have sent word in advance, but I only learned of the situation this morning, and I came here as quickly as I could.
I see. What are you hoping to find, if I might ask?
I am hoping to be able to determine what may have caused the shall we say the accident,
well,
yes.
And you can kind of see her sort of ruminating over it for a moment. Says, I don't know if there'll be much you'll be able to find out at this stage. When Scotland Yard were here, they didn't really seem to give it much thought. In all honesty, they said, well, I know what stories there have been in the papers, but they seem to think it was just a sudden death of some variety, nothing untoward. I've been a little troubled by it, I must say. No, do if you think there's anything you can find, please. I suppose it won't hurt to let you have a look.
I'm most grateful, and I will venture to disturb you and the rest of the household as little as possible.
Of course, and say, I'll go and try and. She's the Amma has come back down with her as well and said, well, Amma, if you can show Mr. Casebury whatever he needs to see, I will go and try and put. I'll go and try and put Mary back down again. And yeah, Emma will kind of nod and say, well, of course, Mr. Casebury, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. I've just got something down on the cooking away downstairs, but if you need me, do give a shout. And she'll start heading towards the stairs down to the cellar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yes, of course. And I'll just start poking around, I guess.
Sure thing. So yeah, what sort of are you looking at for at the moment? Are you looking just for any physical signs, or are you kind of going more for like getting a sense of the kind of supernatural side of things again?
I think that's a good question, actually. I think I'm going actually for more of the physical side first, to get a general feel of the layout and where the body was found, and then move into the more spiritual side. Sure
thing. So yeah, in which case I'll probably ask for an information move with reason to start with.
Sounds good. So let's see. That's 9 plus 1 is a 10.
10, perfect. So I think that what you will see is there is a it's you kind of head into the rooms downstairs, and it kind of strikes you that all of the clocks are set to the wrong time. It's the same time, and like you can tell, like you can hear kind of the pendulum going in the grandfather clock. You can hear the ticking of a carriage clock on the mantelpiece in the front room. But kind of, even though the hands seem to be moving, kind of whenever you look back at them, they're still set at that same time.
Nice. Yeah, what time is that?
I think it's probably
or I guess the question is, does the time tell me anything? Does it seem to be related to anything I already know, or is it, or do we just note it as?
It doesn't, like, the time doesn't mean anything to you at this stage. The reports that you've read in the paper weren't like particularly detailed about like exactly when the Ginny was found dead or anything like that. So there's not like an obvious connection to a time like that. But yeah, it's probably, we'll say it's something like, you know, kind of 10:30, something like that. But yeah, it's it doesn't, like I said, there's no like immediate, it's not like set at like midnight or anything like particularly foreboding like that. But yeah, it's just just an odd thing.
Yeah, cool. Sorry, that's I went off on a typical investigation game tangent.
No, that's quite all right.
Yeah. Maybe move on to someone else for a bit.
That's what I thought. Yep, no, that's cool. Does anyone else have anything they want to do during the day phase? Otherwise, we can move on to well, probably again when we come back from quick break, we'll move on to onto dusk. But does anyone else have anything they want to do during the day?
I thought just briefly, and this could only be like a quick 5-minute scene, I thought just briefly I would try to take the gardenia and see if I could find a flower seller or someone who might have sold those gardenias, or someone who might have been in contact with whoever bought them. So if this vampire has a gopher that they have going about during the day, or if the vampire themselves bought the gardenias at night. I just thought it would be good to have a scene where I, covered in muck and filth, go and talk to some poor flower seller and see if I can establish anything there as far as a clue goes. But that was just one other thing that I was thinking.
No, that's cool. And yeah, that sounds like a nice little scene to just pick up on before we break. I think you will find, not far from sort of like where you come out of the sewer. There is a just a little kind of hand cart operated by a young woman, and she will definitely look at you askance as you approach.
And you said that she is what was it, kind of an older woman or a younger woman?
A young woman, yeah.
Okay. Excuse me, miss, I say, and I hold up the gardenia, which compared to me is really quite pristine, I would think.
Good afternoon, miss. Can I help you. She's definitely kind of shrinking back a bit from you at this at the state of you in general.
Oh, please, don't mind me. I'll keep my distance. Just wanted to ask you a couple questions about this. I kind of look at it quizzically. Flower, I suppose you'd call it.
Gardenia, miss.
You happen to sell those?
Of course. She'll kind of gesture at her cart that has, various different flowers, including gardenias festooned over it.
Now, I don't mean to pry or nothing, but I've been looking for a little kid of mine, one who is partial to gardenias, thinks that they're a right pretty sort of thing. You wouldn't have happened to have seen a young child or someone accompanied by a young child, perhaps, who was especially interested in these kinds of, glance back at it, flowers, would you?
Yeah, so I think I'll ask you now to make the information move with presence, probably, to try and convince the flower seller to not just try and distance herself from you.
Sure. Okay, well, that's with a +1. Give it a try here. Ooh, that's no good. That is a 6. I am gonna go ahead and I think, oh no, that's not even, yeah, no, that is a 6. I think I'll go ahead and use a mask here to bump that up to a mixed success. And if that works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think that this will I think that the they'll say, I did see a woman did buy a bunch of gardenias the other day. Well, the other evening it was, just after sundown. She wasn't with a kid, but some kid was asking her for change. She tried to send them away, and when they mouthed off at her, and she clipped him around the ear roll. But that was, I mean, I've sold more gardenias than that, but you saying about a kid and all, that's the only one that comes to mind.
You said they were accompanied by a woman?
Well, the woman was the one that bought the flowers. But yeah, she met a kid in the, well, a kid, like I said, kid came up to her asking her for money in the street. They got into an argument. I don't think it was like her kid or nothing.
I see. Huh. Kid didn't happen to take off with any of the flowers, did they?
No, I don't think so.
And I think that all reach into my pocket and withdraw like the £1 note or £5 note or whatever the denomination is. But I'll the one bit of money that I didn't lose gambling early in the day, I'll produce that from my pocket and kind of pass it off from the woman to the woman, keeping my distance respectfully. And I'll say, you know, out around this slum town that we call London, you're doing a real important thing. Selling these flowers reminds me a lot of where I came from. Out west, we had whole fields of these kinds of things, wild prairie flowers, and to be honest with you, I quite miss it. So anyhow, I don't need no flowers from you, but I do appreciate everything you do here. Good day to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. She'll pocket the money and, but possibly, you know, very discreetly kind of wiping it on the edge of her apron before putting it away, and then cool. And
but no, that works for me.
Cool. So we will take another quick break now. And again, yeah, come back in about 5 minutes' time, and we'll pick things up then. Cool. Yeah. So what I think we'll do is we'll leave the day phase there. Ardent, obviously, what we can do is if you want to continue investigating the 18 St. James Street in the night phase, that's perfectly fine. We can pick up with that. Or if you want to do something else, that's also cool. But we'll come to that in a moment. What we will do first is we'll go into the dusk phase. So there's 1 sec. Yeah. So for the dusk phase, so we start by resolving any playbook moves or custom moves it was resolved during the dusk phase. So that will obviously Trixie be your quickening move. I don't think anyone has picked up another one that activates at dusk yet. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's hope this goes okay. I'm gonna go ahead and roll. I think it says you can roll with composure or sensitivity. So we'll roll with composure to avoid the transformation. We're rolling at a +1. Fingers crossed that I don't have to use a second mask. That is an 8 in total.
Yeah. So
now that's interesting.
So yeah, that will get you the drained condition. Or if you wish, you can spend a mask to get you a 10+ on that. But you know, I leave that to you.
I'll take drained, but that's going to put me to 3 conditions. So I'm going to have to be real careful tonight.
Sure thing. Yeah, basically, if you take another condition while you have 3 conditions marked, you essentially have to mark a Janus mask at that point. So yeah, it's awesome. The next thing we do is we get our next paint the scene question about Hargrave House. So I think we're going to. Oh yeah, that crosses a couple of things we've hit up today, so I like that. I'm going to choose the music room. So a former hunter in residence once used this room to wrangle a spirit using the power of music. There are still subtle signs of the struggle in this room. What are they? And I think I'll start with Ardent first this time.
Well, I'm not sure if this would count as a subtle sign, but but there's a violin hanging on the wall with broken strings and a bow, the bow hanging beside it, which is also some of the threads are still hanging together, but most of them are also broken.
Cool. And yeah, John, what's another thing that another subtle sign of the struggle that's in this room?
At odd moments, sometimes when you're in the right mood and feeling a bit more open than people usually are, you can hear notes of a violin playing a violin song, something like Paganini or something. Only snatches, never the full melody. You can never hear anything that is cohesive. But still, if you listen, you might even hear it if you really concentrate, but you shouldn't. You really shouldn't. There is a placard advising you against it.
Brilliant. And yeah, Trixie, what's another thing in this room that shows the struggle?
Perhaps there is a stack of largely forgotten sheet music that some forgotten nobody scrawled with all kinds of notes and annotations and things like that, with some sort of ink long ago. But the ink has since aged and turned a certain color that if you didn't know better, you could have sworn it almost looks more like dried blood than ink all over those sheet music pages.
Perfect. Awesome. So the next thing we'll do is we will look at what people want to do in the night phase. What I will say before we do that, if at this stage people want to try answering the second question for the Limehouse Lurker, you may do so. You have a total of 5 clues available to you. I just bring this up now because, as previously mentioned, this has to be to resolve a threat. You have to do so at night. So if you kind of want to try for the Limehouse Lurker in this night phase, you'd need to kind of unlock the opportunity beforehand. But obviously, you don't have to, and we can just have another night phase of primarily investigating stuff. But if you think you have enough clues there to work with to go for an answer, then you can do so. What are people's thoughts at this stage?
I'd love to.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So I will. I'll go. I'll ask John if you'd like to start us off on this question. Where
Right. Where is the vampire?
Yeah.
Let me look here. Okay, so I think the vampire's lair is somewhere, well, maybe not in the sewers per se, but in an area that can be reached by the sewers, and it is beneath that, and it can be reached by this alley, that hidden alley. And I think it's also near where the gardenia woman sells her flowers, right? Because it has to be kind of, so yeah. Where the vampire gets these. So we have the alley.
Yeah, awesome. Ardent, do you have further thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this. I don't recall exactly the description of this blood spiral, but I imagine that as the blood spirals, it kind of points in a certain direction through its movement, and that gives an indication of where the vampire has its lair.
Yeah. You may even be able to use that sort of tracker, even something like that. Yeah, I like that idea. Trixie, do you think any more of these clues link into this kind of location?
So I want to confirm with what Dr. Fenworth postulated. Did you say that the vampire is not exactly in these sewers, but is kind of adjacent to them, or how was that phrased exactly?
Maybe they're, yeah, I think I imagine, I mean, maybe it is in the sewers, yeah, right? Not adjacent, and precisely in the sewers, because it's a child that's very small, doesn't need a lot of space, and you can store, food in the sewers if you want to.
Yeah, and I imagine if most of the sewers are recently built, it should be fairly easy to have created or found some space. Or I mean, if it actually has minions of some kind, they could have been involved and created some.
Oh, maybe the sewer worker. Maybe that's why the sewer worker was driven strange because Bill killed a sucker or something for the vampire. Maybe that's what made him kind of loopy. The influence the vampire exerted over his mind.
I quite like that. The one thing I think, yeah, the sewer worker, yeah, I think that is incorporated thoroughly. The woman arguing with the child, now that's a tough one. If I recall correctly, the woman purchased the flowers and the kid was in some kind of argument with the woman about asking for money or something to that effect.
That's certainly, or I'll put it this way, that's certainly what the flower seller got from that interaction.
Right.
So maybe the child wanted a flower because it loves gardenias. It has to be close by, right? Because it has to have noticed the gardenias and kind of had that conversation about the sewer gardenias that apparently grow in London. Or maybe the woman took exception to the smell, right, of that child.
Yeah. The sense I get is that perhaps the kid wanted money either to purchase gardenias for themselves or wanted some of the woman's gardenias. But it sort of just kind of bolsters the pre-existing hypothesis that the kid is in or around the sewers and has some kind of interest in this particular sort of flower.
Yeah, awesome.
Ooh, maybe that's why the kid didn't use the vampire mind powers on that woman, because she had all these gardenias, and for some reason that they seemed to kind of fascinate it and maybe a little confuse it or diffuse its powers because it loves them so much.
That's possible.
That would give us maybe something we could exploit.
Yeah,
there.
It's sort of like vampire catnip almost.
I like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, now I want to see some actor playing Van Helsing with bunches of gardenias as a crucifix or as a cross.
And then all the vampires coming around him and just looking, oh, gardenias. Nice.
Yeah, the Gardenia Breeders Club is entirely made up of old vampires.
Cool. Yeah.
And one old woman who is not a vampire. And anyway.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So that is all the clues that are currently available to you. So so if someone wants to make that roll at 2d6 plus 1.
I'll make that roll if there's no lines. Okay. Plus 1.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Let's see how that goes. Ooh, wow, that goes poorly. We've got a 6.
6. Okay. So on that 6. So the standard result on a 6- for this is obviously your current supposition is incorrect. and bad things will happen. So
we can all put on a Janus mask, right?
you can, but everyone has to put on a Janus mask. So all three of you have to put one on. You do still have one Janus mask available from this threat itself, Mask of the Sun. So someone can put that on instead of their own. And that will cease being available once this threat is resolved anyway. But the result of what will happen if you do not go ahead with this is I think obviously you will be proven wrong. The vampire will not be laired where you think it is, and I think possibly even the way we see this play out is that you are headed down into the sewers underneath where you expect them to be. You are looking sort of around, and you find it's that classic, obviously thing where it's just before sundown, as you're finally getting there. So hopefully it will be less powerful in the rays of the sun. You do actually find kind of just a bit where kind of part of the old sewer tunnel leads through. And it's obviously it's one of these bits where like many of these old cities, London has lots of layers of old buildings that have just been sort of built on top of over time. You find this old ruined cellar that doesn't really have a building above associated with it anymore. And as you kind of train your lanterns into there, it's empty. But as you do so, from behind you, and I think maybe one of you has, like we see before, has this sort of small amount of blood from a cut coming up, welling around, that's in this spiral, and the spiral is sort of just spinning around. But then I think Ardent, I think we see that cut that you had on your hand the other day from your ritual opens up and starts to bleed out, and bleeds more than it should, and the blood starts running down your arm. And as it does, your arm, you sort of lose all sensation in your arm, but you reach around, that your sort of arm reaches of its own accord and grabs Dr. Fenworth by the throat, and that is a situation that we will start off in. But if you all wish to mark a Janus mask, we can avert that, or we can, like I said, we can either go run with that scene, or we can mark Janus masks. I'll leave that up to you.
What's the effect of marking the Mask of the Sun?
You'll find out when revealed.
Okay.
It's kept semi-secret. That you can often hazard a guess from they will tend to be sort of not marked like Janus masks. They'll tend to be a prompt for people to answer. Though I think it's possible that sometimes they may do other weird stuff as well. But in general, it will be like another prompt to answer, a bit like the others.
I would love to do that. And do you want to put on the Mask of the Sun, Trixie, or should I? Because we both have marked the Janus masks already marked.
I was going to say, sorry, I was just going to say it should probably be one of us because we're the two who already got masks on. Between the two of us, I don't know, I feel like my character, by virtue of their whole curse, is going to go through masks a little bit more quickly than the rest of the team.
Yes. Yeah, I think that is a fair assessment. Yes, go ahead and
that was
that one.
Certainly the case in the game I played recently, but that was mostly because Blake just had really bad dice luck. That it almost ran out of Janus masks across 4 sessions. It was
wow, that's harsh.
Okay, well, if it's okay with everyone, I'll take the sun mask, and
Yeah.
Sure,
Cool.
I owe you one, Dr. Fenworth.
that's fine.
And
I
what
love
we'll
narrating flashbacks, so
and what we'll probably do as well, just to for forewarning, once we've resolved this, we will, because the next part of the dusk mask is to check in on people's of the dusk phase, sorry, is to check in on people's Janus mask stuff. So we'll probably get some narration around the various Janus masks people have marked off, and then I will introduce the first mastermind scene as an end of session stinger, and we'll probably then leave it there because we don't really have enough time to properly get into the night phase, so we may as well save that for next time and do it properly. But we'll have a few different bits to mark anyway. Dr. Fenworth, what mask are you going to mark off?
I've marked a mask of the past because,
and likewise for Ardent. Perfect.
I mean, or I could take the Gilded Door, of course. That would give me the condition most beloved, and that would be interesting to me, because then nobody else can mark that. So I would take that if that's cool with you. Oh, cool. Okay, then I'll take that one. Woo.
Sure. Cool. No, that's perfect. Yes, you will take the condition most beloved. And we will, as I said, what we'll do now, so that will upgrade the result to a 7 to 9 on that answering a question, which means that you are correct, but there is some added complication, and I think what this will look like is you kind of work out, you reckon you're right, you reckon you're on the right track, you reckon this thing is probably in the sewers, but you will feel Ardent kind of, again, just in that where you cut yourself the other day, you will feel it kind of throbbing a little bit, and you just get the feeling almost like you're being watched. And yeah, you suspect that maybe the vampire has some sort of link to you and may be aware of your impending visit. That will be that. So that's the answer question resolved. So we will just quickly drop back to the rest of our dusk phase, which is, as I said, primarily at this point. We would say what you'll be doing next in the next night phase, but we'll probably leave that for next time. We might as well do that when we begin our next session. We'll now check back in on any Janus mask prompts that we haven't yet resolved. So firstly, Trixie, I believe we have from earlier a flashback to your childhood to see.
Right. It says that I am to narrate a flashback to your childhood that shows the high level of privilege you were born into. And so I think that what you see is this, what boils down to scene of myself and both my parents in a carriage, basically, and this is kind of on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And we're cutting through, I think, a portion of New York, and we might be out traveling. I don't know that we would live in the city necessarily, but we're moving through a portion of New York that, like London, is relatively downtrodden. And I think that at one point there's a shot of myself kind of looking out the side window of this carriage and seeing people who are kind of hard on their luck, bordering on homeless or otherwise very lower socioeconomic status. And I turn to my parents and say something like, well, can we give them some money, or can I, go out and say hi to them, or can I interact with this circle, this sphere of people in literally any way? And the answer I get from my parents, and they say this with the best of intentions, they're far from snobby people, but they basically say, oh no, don't go near them, they're dangerous, or they will just come around pestering us for more money if we give them any at all to begin with. And there is this very clear class divide between them and me that is instilled within like the first 5 years of my life, is sort of what I'm picturing.
That's lovely, thank you. And then we saw your flashback earlier, and obviously, yeah, you've taken the most beloved condition. That's awesome.
I've got another flashback, though. I've marked the second. No, I don't. I don't.
No,
I took the other one. Okay,
yeah, no
forget
worries.
it.
Ardent, we have a flashback from you as well, I believe.
Yes, indeed. Narrate a flashback to the time when you were in your mother's womb that shows even then dark entities were interested in you. And I think this is my mother, heavily pregnant, like very near the end of her pregnancy, sitting in a rocking chair, with her hand on her belly, reading fairy tales, sort of like reading to her unborn child, and she puts. I think my father calls something to her, and she answers, and when she does that, she puts the book down momentarily. And as she's turned away, the pages flit and flicker to a story, a darker, more disturbing story. And when she picks up the book again, she doesn't notice that she's reading something else, but it's not one of the nice polarized fairy tales. This is the darker, more original versions.
Awesome, thank you. And the last one that we have is the Mask of the Sun. So this one is each hunter narrates a dream they once had of primordial earth, back in time across the ancient seas, back in time when the spirits walked, when the sun was new and the old gods held court. So this is a dream that each one of you will have had at some point in your life. So Trixie, would you like to start us off?
Sure. So, sorry, I was just kind of skimming through here real quick. Could you repeat one more time what the prompt was?
Yes, certainly. Each hunter narrates a dream they once had of primordial earth, back in time across the ancient seas, back in time when the spirits walked, when the sun was new and the old gods held court.
Oh, I quite like that. Okay, so is this a flashback or a scene?
It's a dream, but
Okay.
how you wish to frame that is up to you. Whether you just want to narrate the dream itself or like your circumstances when it happened, either is good.
Sure. So I think that what you have is this scene of the prairies out west. I think that peaceful solitude, that complete disconnect from civilization and cities is what Trixie kind of remembers. Like, she recalls this scene of the Great Plains in the middle of the United States, where it is nothing but flat land and tall grass and prairie flowers and barely even a tree to be seen. But there is some sense that what you're seeing is eons ago, like well before humans even walked these lands. And there is this great tempestuous gray cloud, black really, that is rolling over the land. And you hear this sort of roar of thunder that just like a shockwave rolls across the grass, and you see it sort of wave and stir as this shockwave moves across the land. It is almost as if there is this language that's being spoken, this declaration that's being proclaimed across the land by a force that is neither understandable in human terms, nor does it use anything resembling human language. But you get the sense that this is all just there. It's just part of existence and always has been. And then I think she wakes up and it is raining outside, and there is a thunderstorm, and there is this very faint hint that whatever that was still exists despite the encroachment of civilization across the land.
Awesome, that's brilliant, thank you. Yeah, and John, how about yourself?
I think in that dream it started with a beach, a Mediterranean beach, waves softly lapping at the golden beach and the golden sand. And as the view pans up, you see a man standing on that beach, and maybe the perspective is a little off, but he looks gigantic. He looks incredibly huge, and he's beautiful. He's very beautiful. He wears, John can't say he wears something that is clear, but as it is in dreams, the details are a bit blurry. And that giant figure throws back his head and he starts to sing, and is absolutely the most beautiful thing that you'd ever heard. There were words to this song, certainly there were, but what they were, you couldn't say, because you would be so overwhelmed. And when John looks closer, he sees at the feet of this man, there are tiny figures. He thinks there are ants, but as he looks closer, or as the scenery shifts, he sees these are people, and they prostrate themselves before the giant, and their faces are aglow with ecstasy. They are besotted. They are nothing but filled with this music. They have forgotten who they were. They are just vessels now for this music, for this God, for this voice. And then John wakes up and is crying, because yes, that is what his love meant to him. That is exactly it.
Perfect, thank you. Perfect, thank you very much. And yeah, Ardent.
Yeah, I think the circumstances for this dream is that Ardent, I think we just see a brief cut of Ardent he's conversing with a woman. He's a few years younger than he is now, and they are in the early stages of courtship, kind of the very cautious early stages. But it's clear from the way he looks at her that he finds her very attractive, the way he glances at her, the way he looks at her when she looks away, that sort of thing. And then it cuts to the dream, and in the dream, Ardent is walking through a truly ancient forest with huge trees, and that sort of moss-covered tree trunks and fallen trees that are half rotted, and he walks through this forest and in towards a cave that opens up, and inside the cave are these ancient dark spirits, and he knows he should be afraid of them. He should find them terrifying, but instead he finds them alluring, and he gives himself over to them. And then it cuts away from the dream to when he's having another conversation with this young woman, but now he is completely uninterested. He cannot find come back to the attraction that he felt for her previously. It's completely vanished.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So that is where we will leave things for tonight. But as I say, we have one last moment first. It's a scene in a well-lit, it looks like probably an attic room. It has big windows in it, though it's currently dark outside and the room is lit by gaslight. There is the man we saw earlier, Lucian, dressed less formally now, just in a very loose shirt, like I said, long golden curls hanging down his back, and he is stood in front of a canvas. He has an easel holding. Sorry, he has an easel. He has a palette of paints. And a brush in his hand, and there's a great work in front of him. It's sort of a very impressionistic view of London. Lots of lights, lots of brush movement and brushwork in it. There is a we see kind of it's got a sort of surrealist edge to it. We see kind of a something that looks like a kind of spirits and stuff moving around some of the streets, glinting eyes peering out from the shadows, stuff like that. It's a very kind of chaotic, very lively view of London, and over it flies a golden falcon, like surrounded by golden light, which kind of sheds light across the city. And as he's painting this, just see him start to add details, and you can slowly see the shape taking form of a building down in one part of the painting, and as more details are added, as taps it with various colours, we see the shape of Hargrave House forming in the painting, and he looks at it and smiles as he takes a step back to view the work he's painting. And with that, we will leave things there for the evening. I will stop our recording.